Face it, Maya, you're just not built for success, my brother Derek announced across our father's casket, his voice echoing through the funeral home like he was delivering a keynote speech. 27 people turned to stare as he straightened his Tom Ford tie and shook his head with what he probably thought was brotherly concern. What he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that in my briefcase, tucked between the funeral program and my car keys, was a signed acquisition agreement for his failing tech company, and his severance package was already calculated, $0.00. Let me explain how we got here. My father died on a Tuesday. Massive heart attack at 61. No warning. He was at his desk 1 minute, gone the next. The funeral was Friday, which didn't give anyone much time to process anything. Except I'd had a year to process what was about to happen. A year to plan. A year to watch Derek's company circle the drain while he bragged about his success at every family gathering. My name is Maya Thornton. I'm 32 years old, and I run a venture capital firm called Apex Ventures. We specialize in acquiring struggling tech companies, restructuring them, and either flipping them or folding them into our portfolio. Last year, we managed $340 million in assets. This year, we're projected to hit $500 million. Derek doesn't know any of this. To him, to our entire family, I'm still the little sister who barely graduated from state college. The one who never applied herself. The one who moved to Austin 5 years ago for a customer service job and never came back to Philadelphia for anything except obligatory holiday visits. Derek, on the other hand, is the golden child. MIT graduate, former Google engineer. Founded his own company, Vertex Solutions, 6 years ago. He's been dining out on that origin story ever since, even though Vertex has been bleeding money for the past 2 years. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Growing up, Derek was the smart one. I was the creative one, which was family code for, we're not sure what she's good at. Derek got a full ride to MIT. I went to Penn State and worked 3 jobs to pay for it. Derek had internships at Microsoft and Apple. I worked retail and waited tables. When Derek started Vertex Solutions, Dad invested $200,000 of his retirement savings. When I told Dad I wanted to start my own business, he said, "Maybe you should get some real experience first, sweetie." That was 7 years ago. I moved to Austin with $3,000 in my bank account and a business degree that everyone said was useless. I got hired as a customer service rep at a tech startup. 6 months later, I was managing the customer service department. A year after that, I was director of operations. I learned everything: financing, scaling, growth metrics, burn rate, investor relations. When that startup got acquired for $40 million, I walked away with $180,000 from my stock options. I used it to start Apex Ventures. Small at first. I invested in a friend's app development company. Made 300% return in 18 months. Invested in a cybersecurity startup. That one went public and made me $2.4 million. I rolled every dollar back into the fund. I lived in a studio apartment. Drove a 10-year-old Honda. Ate ramen and grocery store sushi. And I built an empire while Derek sent me Christmas cards about how Vertex Solutions was disrupting the enterprise software space. At Dad's 75th birthday 2 years ago, Derek gave a toast. To the man who taught me everything about business, who believed in me when I had nothing but an idea and a dream. I was sitting right there. Dad had literally told me my business idea wasn't worth investing in. But Derek got a standing ovation, and I smiled and clapped like everyone else. That night, I went back to my hotel room and did something I'd been avoiding. I looked up Vertex Solutions financials. They were public record because Derek had taken investor money. What I found was a disaster. Vertex had burned through $8 million in funding. Revenue was down 40% year over year. They had 17 employees and couldn't make payroll without credit. Derek had personally guaranteed loans using his house as collateral. His house that he'd bought with Dad's money. And he was about to lose everything. I spent the next year watching. Quietly. Carefully. I tracked every SEC filing, every quarterly report, every desperate press release about exciting new partnerships that never materialized. Vertex was dying, and Derek was too proud or too stupid to see it. 6 months ago, Derek's investors called an emergency meeting. I know because I have sources everywhere in the Austin tech scene. They gave him an ultimatum: find an acquisition partner or they'd force bankruptcy and liquidation. Derek started shopping the company around. He wanted $15 million. He got laughed out of every room. The company was worth maybe $2 million in assets, and most of that was office furniture and deprecated code. 3 months ago, Derek got an offer from a private investment group for $3.8 million. Enough to pay off the debts and give Derek a small payout. The investors would get pennies on the dollar, but it was better than bankruptcy. Derek took the meeting. He negotiated. He strutted around that conference room like he was selling to Google. And he signed the letter of intent. The private investment group was a shell company owned by Apex Ventures. It was owned by me. I structured the deal through 4 layers of LLCs specifically so Derek wouldn't know who was buying his company. My lawyers were bulletproof. The paperwork was immaculate. And Derek, who loved to brag about his MIT education and his business acumen, never bothered to dig deeper than the first layer. The deal was set to close on Monday, 4 days after Dad's funeral. Which brings us back to Friday, standing in Henderson and Sons' funeral home on Broad Street, with Dad in a mahogany casket and Derek telling me I wasn't built for success. "I'm serious, Maya," Derek continued, his voice taking on that patronizing tone he'd perfected over the years. "You've been in Austin for what, 5 years? And you're still doing the same customer service thing. At some point, you have to accept your limitations." Our mother, red-eyed and exhausted, put a hand on Derek's arm. "Derek, please. Not now." "No, Mom, she needs to hear this." Derek turned to face me fully. "Dad would want me to be honest with her. Maya, you're 32 years old. You need to think about your future. You can't just drift through life hoping something works out." "I'm not drifting," I said quietly. "Really? Then what's your plan? What's your 5-year goal?" He crossed his arms, waiting. I could have told him right then. Could have pulled out the acquisition agreement and watched his face change. But I didn't. Because Dad's funeral wasn't the place, and because, honestly, I wanted to watch him walk into that boardroom on Monday with no idea what was coming. "I'm figuring it out," I said. Derek shook his head, like I was a lost cause. "That's exactly what I mean. Figuring it out. Do you know what I was doing at 32? I had already founded Vertex. I had 12 employees. I was building something real. How's that going, by the way?" I asked. "Vertex Solutions. Last I heard, you were looking for investors." His jaw tightened. "We're in a growth phase. Scaling responsibly. That's how real businesses work, Maya. Not that you'd understand." Our Aunt Linda walked over, mercifully ending the conversation. But Derek's words hung in the air through the entire funeral service. Through the burial. Through the reception at Mom's house afterward. People kept asking me about my life. I kept giving vague answers. "I work in tech. I'm doing well. Austin is great." Nobody pressed for details because they'd already decided who I was. Derek, meanwhile, held court in the living room, talking about Vertex's upcoming acquisition, like he was the one in control. "We're being acquired by a major investment group," he told Uncle Raymond. "Can't say much, but it's a 7-figure deal. Sometimes you have to know when to cash out, you know?" I sipped my wine and said nothing. Sunday evening, Derek called me. "Hey, Maya. Listen, I feel bad about what I said on Friday. The funeral was rough, and I took it out on you." "It's fine," I said. "No, it's not. You're my sister. And I want to help you." He paused. "Look, my company's being acquired. Once that goes through, I'm going to have some capital to work with. If you want to start a business or something, I could probably invest a little. Help you get started." The audacity was breathtaking. "That's generous. That's what family does. We lift each other up. I had Dad to believe in me. Now I can be that person for you." "I appreciate that, Derek. The deal closes tomorrow. Once everything's finalized, we'll talk. I'll help you build something. Maybe a consulting business or a service company. Something that plays to your strengths." "Sounds good," I said and hung up. Monday morning arrived cold and clear. I put on my Armani suit, the one I bought after the cybersecurity investment went public, and drove to the offices of Meridian Law Group in downtown Austin. Derek's closing was scheduled for 10 a.m. I arrived at 9:45. My attorney, James Chun, met me in the lobby. "Everything's ready. Derek Thornton and his legal team are already in conference room A. The investors are on video conference. We're just waiting for the acquiring party to arrive." "Perfect," I said. "Let's not keep them waiting." James led me to conference room A. Through the glass wall, I could see Derek sitting at the head of the table, looking confident in his navy suit. His lawyer sat beside him. On the screen, I recognized the faces of Vertex's 3 main investors. I walked in. Derek looked up and did a double take. Maya, what are you doing here? I'm here for the closing, I said, taking a seat at the opposite end of the table. The closing? Why would you? He stopped. I watched his brain trying to make the connection. You're not, you can't be. Derek Thornton, James said formally. I'd like to introduce Maya Thornton, CEO and majority shareholder of Apex Ventures, the parent company of Sterling Investment Group, the entity acquiring Vertex Solutions. The color drained from Derek's face. No, that's not possible. I opened my briefcase and pulled out a folder. It's not only possible, it's happening. As of 10 a.m. today, Apex Ventures owns 100% of Vertex Solutions. The purchase price is $3.8 million, as agreed. You. Derek's voice cracked. You're the investor group? I'm the investor group, I confirmed. I'm also the person who's been running a $340 million venture capital firm for the past 5 years, while you thought I was doing customer service. His lawyer leaned over, whispering frantically. Derek ignored him. This is some kind of joke. No joke. The paperwork is all here. Your investors have already signed off. The money is in escrow. All that's left is your signature. I slid the documents across the table. Page 12, paragraph 4. Your exit package. He grabbed the papers, flipping through them. I watched his eyes scan the numbers. And then I watched him understand. There's no payout for me. This says I get nothing. That's correct, I said. The $3.8 million covers company debts and provides minimal returns to the investors. As founder and CEO, you personally guaranteed those debts. You also signed a clause that waives executive compensation in the event of a distressed sale. That's the deal you agreed to. I agreed to it because I didn't know it was you. Would it have mattered? The terms would be the same regardless of who bought the company. The only difference is now you know who's signing your checks. I leaned forward. Actually, that's not quite true. I'm not signing your checks. There aren't any checks to sign. You're being terminated effective immediately with no severance. You can't do this. I can and I am. It's all legal. Your lawyer can confirm. I looked at Derek's attorney, who was reading through his own copy of the documents with increasing alarm. Mr. Thornton, the lawyer said quietly, she's right. The terms are as stated. You sign the letter of intent. This is binding. Derek slammed his hand on the table. I'm your brother. Yes, I said. You are. You're the brother who told me I wasn't built for success at our father's funeral. The brother who offered to invest a little in my business after your acquisition went through. The brother who spent our entire lives being Dad's favorite while I worked 3 jobs to pay for college. That's what this is about. You're jealous? No, Derek. I'm not jealous. I'm successful. There's a difference. I stood up. I built a venture capital firm from nothing. I made my first $1 million before I turned 30. And I did it without Dad's money, without MIT connections, without anyone believing in me. So this is revenge. No, this is business. Your company was failing. I made a fair offer. You accepted. Now the deal is closing. I picked up my briefcase. But I'll tell you what this is. This is me being exactly who you said I wasn't. Built for success. And I'm built so well that I just bought your entire company out from under you without you noticing. The investors on the video screen were silent. Derek's lawyer was pale. James' chin was trying not to smile. Derek's voice was small. What happens now? Now. You sign the papers. Vertex becomes part of the Apex Ventures portfolio. I install new management. And you. I paused at the door. You figure it out. Isn't that what you told me to do? Maya, please. I have a mortgage. I have car payments. I used my house as collateral. I know. I read the filings. You should probably talk to a financial advisor about that. I opened the door. Oh, and Derek? For what it's worth, I'm sorry about Dad. He was a complicated man. But he was wrong about me. And so were you. I walked out of that conference room and didn't look back. The deal closed at 10:15. By noon, the press release went out. Apex Ventures acquires Vertex Solutions in strategic expansion. By evening, it was on TechCrunch with my photo as CEO. Derek called me 14 times that day. I didn't answer. He sent texts ranging from apologetic to furious to desperate. I didn't respond. On Tuesday, my mother called. Maya, what did you do? I bought Derek's company. It's just business, Mom. He's devastated. He says you humiliated him. He humiliated himself, I said. I just stopped pretending I didn't notice. He's your brother. I know. And for 32 years, he's been the golden child while I've been the disappointment. I'm tired of it, Mom. I'm tired of being underestimated. She was quiet for a long moment. Your father would be proud of you. He never said it, but I think he knew. Knew what? That you were going to be okay. Better than okay. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry we didn't see it sooner. We talked for another hour. Really talked, maybe for the first time in years. She told me about Dad's doubts about Derek's company, doubts he never voiced. About her own regrets. About how proud she actually was. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. As for Derek, last I heard, he's working as a consultant for a tech firm in Philadelphia. Making decent money, rebuilding his life. We don't talk. Maybe someday we will. But here's what I learned. Success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. And the sweetest victory isn't watching someone else fail. It's building something so undeniable that failure isn't even on the table. Derek said I wasn't built for success. Turns out I was built for it all along. I just didn't need his permission to prove it.